When I think about which movies are tonally inconsistent, first of all, tone means the way a movie feels. So Citizen Kane has a very different tone than a comedy like Elf. When I think about some of the recent Marvel films, they've suffered from this problem. 411 Thunder is, I think, one of the biggest examples in recent memory, because the movie has a very serious opening scene where a father and his little girl are desperately trying to survive, but the little girl dies. And then the father meets the gods that he had worshipped, only to find that they're mean, rude, condescending. So he loses his faith. And then in the movie, because Thor is a god and the main villain is someone who previously worshipped the gods but then loses faith because something horrible happened and then the gods treated him horribly. Inherent right in there is the theological and philosophical problem of evil. The question of if God is real and if God is real, all powerful and good, why does he allow evil to exist in the world? That's right there in 411 Thunder. There's a golden opportunity to explore this big, very serious question that has been grappled with for a long time. But the movie doesn't do that because the movie gets so ridiculous, silly, and goofy that it just turns into self-parody where nothing is treated seriously whatsoever. You have Ford doing John Van Damme split kicks, him having there. You have a love triangle between Thor, Jane, and a hammer, and then Zeus is shown to be completely over the top, ridiculous, and goofy. And then, even though the villain is one who's butchering gods, the movie shies away from actually showing Gore killing the gods, other than the opening scene. Also, I think of Guardians Volume 2, that one feels tonally inconsistent to me, because on the one hand, the Sovereign come off as self-parody. They're so over the top where when they're firing at the Guardian ship, you literally hear 80s video game sounds. And then there's that scene where Rocket, Yondu, and Groot are going through all these jumps to get to where the rest of the Guardians are, and their faces morph, so it's really silly. But then at the same time in that movie, you see a child, baby Groot, being abused. And you also learn that Ego is so horrible that he murdered his wife, Peter Quill's mother, and killed thousands of Peter Quill's siblings that he didn't even know existed. So with Guardians 2, it's Looney Tunes humor and patricide. It's Looney Tunes humor and patricide in the same movie. It just jumps back and forth between being goofy and over the top and then really dark. Also, when I think about the Marvels that just came out last year, I'm like, ooh, that one's tonally inconsistent too. Because on the one hand, the movie's dealing with some pretty serious issues like refugees, genocide, and yet the movie doesn't actually explore any of that because it's so focused on being fun, silly, and humorous that it glosses over the serious stuff that's right there in the story. And then when I think, yeah, those are so. Well, also I think about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Honestly, like it jumps between silly, lowbrow humor for toddlers with Jar Jar Binks and serious, dramatic scenes about politics that no kid is going to find interesting, that are going to be very boring to them. And also, I mean, when I think about Batman and Robin, it's like that's really tonally inconsistent because, on the one hand, it's too silly for adults with how goofy and over the top it is, but at the same time, there's multiple close-up shots of butts, boobs, crotches. It's like, oh, that's not appropriate for children at all. So this movie's totally inconsistent, and also, who exactly is it for? I'm not sure.